In the marinas of Monaco, Antibes, and Fort Lauderdale, they float like small nations. Steel hulls stretching longer than football fields, decks stacked with helipads, swimming pools, and glass elevators. These are superyachts, and they represent the most concentrated display of private wealth ever assembled on water. Consider Eclipse, the 162-meter vessel built for Roman Abramovich by the German shipyard Blohm plus Voss in 2010. It reportedly cost somewhere between $400 and $500 million, and it carries 2 helicopter pads, a missile detection system, and accommodation for 36 guests served by roughly 70 crew. Then there is Azam, launched by Lursen in 2013 at 180 meters, making it the longest private yacht on Earth. Its price is estimated near $600 million, and it can reportedly reach speeds above 30 knots, despite displacing over 13,000 tons. Numbers like these dominate headlines. The purchase price becomes the story, the shocking figure that trends online and defines the vessel in the public imagination. But that figure is a trap. It is only the entrance fee. The moment an owner signs the contract and takes delivery, they inherit not an object but an obligation, a floating institution that demands feeding every single day whether it moves or sits idle at anchor. A superyacht does not depreciate quietly in a garage like a supercar. It corrodes, it consumes, it employs, it insures, it refuels, and it decays under the relentless assault of salt water and sunlight. Every hour it exists, it costs money. The paradox at the heart of superyacht ownership is this. The world fixates on the sticker price, but the sticker price is the cheapest thing about the entire enterprise. The true cost lives in the years that follow, in the invisible machinery of crew, fuel, dockage, and repair that keeps the palace afloat. Industry professionals have a grim shorthand for what comes next, a rule of thumb passed between brokers and captains that transforms a one-time luxury into a permanent financial commitment. To understand why the wealthiest people on the planet knowingly sign up for a lifetime of bleeding cash, we have to start where every owner starts, at the shipyard, with the price of admission itself. The entry point begins at the shipyard, and the most prestigious names in the world are Dutch and German. Feedship, founded in the Netherlands in 1949, and Lursen, established in Bremen in 1875, sit at the summit of new-build yacht construction. Their order books stretch years into the future, and their clients often wait 3 to 5 years for delivery. A custom new build starts around $30 million for a modest 40-meter vessel, but the flagship projects routinely climb past $200, $300, even $500 million. Every hull is bespoke. Owners specify the marble, the timber, the artwork, the engine configuration, and the interior designers who charge millions before a single wall is installed. That construction figure, however staggering, is merely the down payment on a lifetime obligation. Here's the number that defines the entire industry. Annual running costs equal roughly 10% of the yacht's value. Every year, a $100 million yacht, therefore, costs approximately $10 million annually just to exist, before the owner enjoys a single sunset. A $500 million vessel like Azam can burn through $50 to $60 million per year in operating expenses. Over a typical 10-year ownership, that 10% rule means an owner may spend as much keeping the yacht alive as they spent building it. The purchase price effectively doubles, silently, across the decade. This is why the sticker price is deeply misleading. The public sees $400 million and imagines a finished transaction. Insiders see $400 million and calculate $40 million per year flowing outward into salaries, diesel, dockage, insurance, and repairs. The vessel is not an acquisition. It is a subscription with no cancellation clause, a commitment that compounds relentlessly whether the yacht sails the Mediterranean or sits chained to a berth. Brokers rarely emphasize this arithmetic during a sale because the 10% rule can frighten even billionaires. Yet no cost within that 10% is optional, and no cost is larger or more human than the one that walks aboard every morning in crisp white uniforms. Before fuel, before repairs, before insurance, an owner must first pay for the people who make the palace function. Step aboard a 100-meter superyacht and you enter a floating workplace employing between 40 and 70 people, most of whom the guests will never see. This is the invisible army, and its wages form one of the single largest recurring expenses in the entire ownership equation. At the top stands the captain, whose salary on a large yacht ranges from $180,000 to over $300,000 per year. Below the captain sit the officers, engineers, and department heads. A chief engineer on a vessel this size commands $120,000 to $200,000 annually, because he alone understands the propulsion, the generators, the water makers, and the electrical systems that keep the ship alive. Then come the deckhands, the stewards, the bosuns, and the interior staff, who polish, serve, and clean around the clock. A private chef trained in Michelin-starred kitchens can earn $90,000 to $150,000, and the largest yachts carry 2 chefs to cover guest and crew meals separately. Multiply these salaries across dozens of positions, and the annual crew payroll on a superyacht routinely exceeds $2 to $4 million. But salary is only the beginning. Crew live aboard, so the owner provides food, uniforms, medical insurance, flights home, and training certifications. Many large yachts operate on rotation, meaning 2 full crews alternate every few weeks, effectively doubling certain staffing costs so the vessel is always ready. Living quarters below deck must be built, maintained, and air-conditioned. Recruitment agencies charge placement fees. High turnover in a demanding industry means constant rehiring and retraining. A single superyacht can generate more employment than a small business ashore, and it does so while producing no revenue whatsoever. The crew exists purely to serve the owner and preserve the vessel. Their expertise is genuine, and their labor is relentless. Yet from a financial standpoint, they represent a fixed cost that continues, whether the yacht is cruising the Caribbean or moored empty in a shipyard. And these salaries, enormous as they are, still power a machine that cannot move an inch without another expense entirely, one measured not in people, but in tons of diesel, poured into cavernous tanks below the waterline. Beneath the polished decks and marble staterooms lies the raw physics of moving thousands of tons of steel across open ocean, and physics is expensive. A superyacht's fuel tanks are engineering marvels of scale. Eclipse reportedly carries around 1.3 million liters of diesel, and Azam's tanks are believed to hold well over 1 million liters as well. Filling those tanks from empty, at marine diesel prices hovering around $1 to $2 per liter, depending on the port and the year, can cost between $1 and $2 million in a single visit to the fuel dock. That is one fill. The consumption while cruising is equally staggering. A large superyacht moving at cruising speed can burn 500 to 1,000 liters of fuel per hour. Push toward top speed and the numbers explode, because fuel consumption rises roughly with the cube of velocity. Doubling your speed does not double your fuel burn, it multiplies it 8-fold. This is why a yacht like Azam, capable of exceeding 30 knots, drinks diesel at a catastrophic rate the moment the captain demands performance. A single transatlantic crossing at a comfortable pace can consume hundreds of thousands of dollars in fuel alone. Range and speed are the 2 luxuries owners crave most, the ability to cross oceans and to arrive quickly, and both are purchased directly in liters of diesel. Beyond propulsion, the generators never stop. Air conditioning for dozens of cabins, the desalination plants producing fresh water, the kitchens, the lighting, the stabilizers that keep the vessel steady at anchor, all of it runs on fuel-powered electricity even when the yacht sits motionless. A superyacht at anchor still burns hundreds of liters daily just to keep its systems breathing. Annual fuel bills for an active large yacht frequently reach $1 to $3 million, and for the largest vessels running heavy itineraries, considerably more. Fuel is the price of freedom, the cost of the ocean itself. Yet even a fully fueled, fully crewed yacht faces an enemy that never sleeps and never negotiates: an enemy that attacks every welded seam and painted surface the instant the vessel touches the water. Saltwater is the great destroyer, and the superyacht is engaged in permanent warfare against it. The moment a hull enters the sea, corrosion begins. Salt attacks steel, aluminum, fittings, and electronics with relentless patience, and the only defense is constant, expensive maintenance performed by specialists who never truly finish the job. Routine upkeep alone consumes enormous sums. Exterior paint on a large yacht, applied in mirror-perfect coats, must be maintained continuously and fully redone every 5 to 7 years, at a cost that can reach $2 to $5 million for a full repaint. The teak decks require sanding and replacement. The stainless steel railings demand daily polishing to prevent pitting. Engines, generators, and stabilizers need scheduled overhauls measured in tens of thousands of running hours, each service costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Beyond the daily battle lies the regulatory machinery. Every commercial and large private yacht answers to a classification society, organizations like Lloyd's Register or DNV, which enforce safety and structural standards. These societies mandate periodic surveys, and the most demanding is the 5-year special survey, which often requires the yacht to be hauled out of the water entirely. The hull is inspected inch by inch, tanks are opened and examined, and any weakness must be repaired before the vessel is certified to sail again. A single hull-out and survey cycle can cost hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars, and it can keep the yacht out of service for weeks. There is no pause button on decay. A yacht that stops being maintained does not simply idle, it deteriorates rapidly, its value collapsing as corrosion spreads and systems seize. The vessel demands attention whether it is used or not, whether the owner steps aboard once a year or never. Maintenance is not a choice made in good years and skipped in bad ones. It is a biological necessity, like feeding a living organism. Together, routine maintenance and mandatory surveys can consume $1 to $3 million annually. Yet keeping the machinery alive is only part of the burden. The yacht must also be sheltered, guarded, insured, and buried under a mountain of paperwork, simply to remain safely docked. A superyacht cannot simply drop anchor and wait. It needs a berth, and the best berths are absurdly expensive. Consider Port Hercule in Monaco, where a peak season slip for a 100-meter vessel can run past €3,000 per night, and annual contracts climb into 6 figures. Marina Port Vell in Barcelona, Porto Cervo in Sardinia, and Antibes on the French Riviera all command similar premiums, because deep-water moorings capable of holding a 5,000-ton hull are genuinely rare. The larger the yacht, the fewer harbors that can physically accept it, and scarcity sets the price. Then comes insurance. Hull and machinery cover on a $300 million vessel typically costs between 0.5% and 1.5% of insured value annually, which means premiums of $1 to $4 million every year. Protection and indemnity policies stack on top, covering crew injury, pollution liability, and third-party damage. A single fuel spill in a protected Mediterranean bay can trigger fines and cleanup bills that dwarf the premium itself, so underwriters demand meticulous compliance. Paperwork is its own industry. Flag state registration in the Cayman Islands, Malta, or the Marshall Islands requires surveys, safety certificates, and MLC compliance for crew welfare. Owners retain management companies, maritime lawyers, and accountants to keep the vessel legal across dozens of jurisdictions. Then there is security, especially for high-profile owners whose names appear on sanctions watch lists or tabloid front pages. Yachts like Eclipse are rumored to carry anti-paparazzi laser shields, missile detection systems, and armored panels. Private security details, former Special Forces contractors, and cyber protection for onboard networks add hundreds of thousands more each year. Some owners run counter-surveillance sweeps before every voyage. Every one of these costs exists before the yacht has moved a single nautical mile or hosted a single guest. Berthing, insurance, flag compliance, and armed protection form a permanent overhead that runs whether the vessel sails or sits idle in a shed. And yet even this relentless spending cannot stop the slow erosion of the hull itself. Every yacht, no matter how new, eventually faces the moment when routine maintenance is no longer enough, when the entire vessel must be torn apart and rebuilt. Roughly every 10 to 15 years, a superyacht undergoes a refit, and the numbers involved can rival building a brand new vessel. A refit is not a coat of paint. It is a comprehensive teardown, often lasting 12 to 24 months, during which the yacht sits in a covered dry dock while hundreds of workers strip her back to steel. Shipyards like Lürssen in Germany, Amico in Genoa, and Pendennis in the United Kingdom specialize in this work, and their order books stretch years ahead. Consider the scope. Engines are removed and overhauled or replaced entirely. Fuel tanks are cut open, cleaned, and recertified. Generators, stabilizers, and desalination plants are rebuilt. Interiors are gutted and reimagined by designers chasing the latest fashion, because a 90s saloon dates a yacht instantly and destroys resale value. Exterior paint alone, applied in a dust-controlled shed across dozens of hand-sanded coats, can cost $2 to $4 million for a large hull. New tenders, upgraded audio-visual systems, and reconfigured guest cabins add millions more. Regulation drives much of this. Classification societies and flag states revise safety, emissions, and fire suppression rules over time, and an aging yacht must be brought into compliance or lose her certificate to operate commercially. The 2020 IMO sulfur cap forced expensive fuel system and exhaust modifications across the fleet. A vessel that ignores these deadlines becomes legally unusable, so refits are not optional vanity, they are survival. The financial reality is staggering. A major refit on a 70-meter yacht routinely lands between $20 and $50 million, and on the largest vessels it can exceed $100 million. Owners essentially pay a second fortune to keep the first one afloat, and during those 2 years in the shed, the yacht generates nothing while crew salaries and dockage still accrue. This is the pattern of superyacht ownership: build, run, deteriorate, rebuild, repeat. The costs never stop, they only change shape, which raises the question every owner eventually asks their accountant. If the vessel is bleeding money in every direction, can it be made to earn its keep? Can chartering the yacht to paying guests finally turn this floating expense into a business? The charter market is the story owners tell themselves to justify the purchase. Rent the yacht to wealthy strangers, the logic goes, and let their money offset the crushing overhead. The advertised numbers look seductive. A 50-meter vessel charters for between 250 and 500,000 euros per week. The largest yachts, the 80-meter plus giants, command €1 million or more for 7 days. On paper, a full charter season could generate several million euros. Then reality intervenes. Occupancy is the killer. Even a desirable, well-marketed yacht rarely charters more than 10 to 15 weeks per year, concentrated in the Mediterranean summer and the Caribbean winter. Owners typically block out the peak weeks for themselves, precisely when demand and rates are highest, cannibalizing the most profitable slots. Between charters, the yacht repositions across oceans, burning fuel and paying crew while earning nothing. Commissions strip the top line brutally. Charter brokers take 15 to 20% of the gross fee. Management companies take their cut. Then there's the advanced provisioning allowance, but that money covers the guests, fuel, food, and dockage, not the owner's profit. What remains is taxed, and in many jurisdictions, charter income triggers VAT and commercial registration burdens that add cost and complexity. Wear accelerates dramatically under charter. Paying guests are not gentle. Interiors scuff, engines log hours, tenders get abused, and crew turnover rises under relentless service demands. Industry estimates suggest heavy chartering can shorten the interval between refits and inflate maintenance bills by a third. The very activity meant to earn money quietly increases the spending it was supposed to offset. The honest arithmetic is sobering. A yacht costing $30 million a year to run might net $5 or $6 million in charter revenue. After all deductions in a strong season, that covers a fraction of the overhead, not the whole. Chartering softens the bleeding. it does not stop it. So the gamble almost always fails on its own terms, and we arrive at the final reckoning. Add every stream together: crew, fuel, dockage, insurance, refits, and the charter income that never quite balances the ledger, and one verdict emerges. Let us assemble the full ledger. Take a flagship vessel valued at $300 million, the class of Eclipse or Azam. The industry rule of thumb holds that annual running costs equal roughly 10% of value, and here that means $30 million every single year, before the owner has enjoyed a single sunset. Break it down. Crew salaries, rotations, and welfare for a complement of 50 or more consumes 7 to 10 million. Fuel, at thousands of liters per hour underway, adds several million more depending on cruising. Dockage in Monaco and the Caribbean, insurance premiums of 1 to 4 million, flag compliance, and armed security stack, another 5 to 8 million on top. Routine maintenance, the endless war against saltwater and corrosion, absorbs millions annually just to hold deterioration at bay. Then amortize the great refit, 20 to 100 million every decade or so, and the yearly figure swells further. Against all of this stands charter income that, in the best season, recovers perhaps 5 or 6 million, and simultaneously accelerates the wear that drives the next refit. The math never closes. There is no cruising speed, no occupancy rate, no brokerage strategy at which a superyacht becomes an investment in the ordinary sense. It does not appreciate reliably. It does not generate net income. Its resale value erodes the moment the hull touches water, and only a fresh injection of refit capital slows the decline. Every system on board exists to be serviced, replaced, insured, fueled, staffed, and eventually rebuilt. This is the paradox we set out to examine. The purchase price, the number that makes headlines, is merely the entry ticket. Everything after it is a subscription with no cancellation clause, a permanent obligation that runs whether the vessel sails or sits idle in a shed in Germany. A superyacht is not a possession that sits quietly in a portfolio. It is an enterprise with a payroll, a fuel budget, a legal department, and a maintenance schedule that never ends. Strip away the glamour, the teak, and the champagne, and what remains is a single, unavoidable truth. A superyacht is a machine for spending money.